This is the John Hallett Podcast with John Hallett.
Because the way we're living, we need to change it, make it change today, and all learn from failure. Maybe they just wanted it a little bit more than you. That's probably the fact.
And now your host, John Hallett.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the John Hallett Podcast. We are talking a little bit today about a good book, The Anxious Generation. We're also going to be talking about our new ALP program or new ALP class versus private, semi-private classes. So stay tuned to the end for that. But good news on the TikTok video and the activist there. I got him to take down that video, so we haven't had a call here. Today's Thursday that we're recording this, the 27th. We haven't had a call all week, so really glad that it seems like we're moving on from that. But it forces me, it doesn't force me, it makes me think of how and what in the martial arts industry that we can do something. Like, what do you do? I mean, I remember way back when I started it, people were, worried about people training gangbangers and are they getting this training? So it just makes me think, in the industry, what are we doing? Are we banning somebody? But hey, maybe I want to change my life. Really tough things to ponder there. But in my book, it's tough. It's tough to be associated with somebody that's made racist comments. It's a really tough thing. So, but we'd like to raise more awareness, and I think, people have to be smart these days. As stuff stays out on the internet forever and ever, and it doesn't go away. So we'll bring in Josh here. How you doing, Josh?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. What do you think on that in the industry? Or what do you do when somebody, hey,
well,
I was in jail, I got out, I'm reformed.
I always like to think that people can be redeemed and everybody deserves forgiveness. It's one of my tenets that I like to stick to, right?
Yeah.
So you want to forgive as many people as possible. You don't want to knowingly train somebody who wishes to do harm, but that's really hard to figure out.
It's really hard to figure out.
Anybody can just walk in the door, right? And they're like, I want to learn, and they come across as a really normal person, and then they could be hiding this double life behind them. You don't know, right?
I know.
You
It's so hard.
And you're not going to run a background check on like
Every single person,
I mean,
and even stuff will come up regardless.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like some of the, is it sexual predator? What's the exact name? But, you're urinated in public, so you're like, and now you've got that person needs a whole different classification, right? Than somebody that's a real perv kind of thing, which you don't see as many because they're all like keyboard warriors now and doing weird things on the internet versus like wearing their trench coat and exposing themselves. Like way back when.
It's so hard to navigate because somebody does something dumb in a particular gym, suddenly that gym has to deal with the fallout, which experience noted, right? I mean, and it's like,
it's a tough scenario. I always want to be forgiving, like, oh, okay, you're trying to change your life, and it makes you think, but you can't figure out everybody in your gym. Besides, one of the things I thought, do you do a fundraiser and find a good cause to give it to, or a good cause that, fighting racism?
Sure.
Do you do and this is what, do we have time to do it? It would be nice of just going, hey, end racism, and do like a punch out or, some sort of workout that you did for martial artists. And, part of it was denouncing racism and saying, racism ends with me, and I'm going to hit this bag for, 1,000 punches to help end racism. And, take the pledge was kind of my thought, because, if you're running a double life, and I've got you on the internet, start doing this fundraiser pledge of going, end racism, all your KKK buddies would be like, hey,
I know you, and that's not
hey,
that stuff is
hey,
showing,
what are you
right?
doing? But they might applaud and be like, good job, dude, you're undercover. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm just glad I'm not answering phone calls every single day.
Yeah, I mean, when you were getting like 100 plus a day, it was like,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
So,
But good, that's resolved. I mean, it's not resolved, but it's
done.
at least.
So the anxious generation, Jonathan Haidt, he wrote the book, The Coddling of the American Mind.
Yeah.
That was a really good book. Did you read that one?
No.
I have a reading list, Josh, from part of the podcast,
I know.
and you're not keeping up.
Wait, you gave me a reading list?
Yeah, I talk about books all the time. I love books. And Audible, I like that better. Driving and doing whatever, being in the cold plunge, being in the sauna, listening to that is great. I think his book, he's got a lot of great points in this book, and he's on Andrew Huberman. So if you want to do the Cliff Notes, do the Andrew Huberman. He's also on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But the effects on our kids, and it's these, like, I'm going to be abducted. I was telling one of the classes kids, or maybe I was telling the adult, I was telling a fitness class, like, hey, tell your friends. Like, this has to be, a movement that parents are making a change. And way back when, he sees there's a 2010 is a huge one. When we started, we didn't know. I was telling the kids, like, hey, parents make mistakes. Is it like a TV, and you can do games on it, and you can, learn, and there's learning apps, and there's great, like everything else. There's the pros and cons.
Sure.
And there's just a lot of negative with these kids having, a smartphone or their own tablet that they can just access things and be on social media. And I'll go through his, 4 points of what we need to do to make a change. But, I'm seeing kids and that mom always sets up the play date, and they're getting older and older. And part of me, okay, we need to facilitate some things, and maybe your friend from school isn't in the neighborhood, but these kids aren't out in the neighborhoods. They're not having free play. I've run a little experiment the last 2 days in kids classes and going, all right, you guys run the warm up, or you guys run the game, like come out, do something. And they'll kind of default a little bit to something I'll do. But I told them to all right, somebody, you guys are running. It's a joint warm up, and none of them talked. And one kid went and started hitting a heavy bag, and then they all just started hitting a heavy bag, and they didn't even communicate. And I was like, hey, I thought this was a group effort. It looks like a whole bunch of individuals just hitting a heavy bag,
Following the herd.
And I did it with my little ones, and went, okay, you guys have to run and explain to the new kid pizza delivery game. And they just started playing. And it was just running and seeing what the kids go and go hey, it's all up to you guys. Who's out, free play. And I don't think they have enough of that.
Probably not. Because you and I are most likely from generations where our parents had no problem kicking us out of the house and saying, come back when the sun goes down. My mom always say, get out of the house, go play with people. You go up and down the street, you find somebody to play with, and you would go and play.
Yeah.
Right? And I haven't seen that in a long time, because we started seeing the rise of the helicopter parents, right? They're just constantly hovering over their kids. And those people were told that you got to watch your kids so they don't get kidnapped. You got to watch your kids so they don't do drugs. You got to watch your kids. You got to watch your kids. Everything was this sort of a crisis that they were introduced to. And then those kids never got to go outside and play like that anymore. And then technology ends up pushing them further inside, right? There's no reason to leave.
Yeah.
And there's this inherent fear about sending your kids out these days. And then the kids get really anxious, as far as I understand it, about their lifestyle and what's going on. Because one of the stats I heard is that it not only does it stick around from kids, there's now adults going with their parents to job interviews because their parents had hovered so long with them that they're taking them as backup on job interviews.
Are you kidding me?
5%. And it was one of the radio shows I listened to in the morning, and Fox ended up covering it the other night too, is that there are people that have to have a support person with them.
Yeah. It's over parenting. There's so much, I said, I was saying to my wife, will you let them figure it out? This play date.
Yeah, I never had a play date.
Yeah, I'm go out, and is it still different? No, I mean, I think people won't they can't go in the neighborhood, or you get in trouble. There's a kid walking down the street, and it's just ridiculous. Like the amount your kid's gonna get hit by lightning, I think, before they're gonna get abducted. And the ones that you really need to worry about are a family member or an ex-spouse. Those are the big ones on abduction.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, I tell a story where I got permission from my stepboy's dad. Like, hey, they're misbehaving in the car. Can I make them walk? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, make them walk.
Cool.
The meltdown, the time that I made them walk, like, I don't even know if it was a mile. I'm going to get kidnapped. I was like, nobody wants a screaming kid. Nobody wants you. You're screaming. That was a story I told the fitness class. I think your wife was in the other day. And I'm like, nobody wants you. Yeah. I'm going to get lost. I'm like, you're in the neighborhood.
Right.
Settle down. You're freaking out. You're misbehaving. You can walk home. You don't need to be in the car. Yeah. They never did after that, really. I mean,
I was talking to someone about new recruits that they work with, and they have to find addresses, but they rely entirely on their phone to do it.
Yeah.
Because these kids are so anxious because they're given crutches for everything. They get anxious about time because they have to schedule the play date, right? Everything has to fit in their schedule now. And we really didn't have that too much before, electronic.
Yeah, kids are overscheduled now. They're overscheduled. Yeah. I mean, the parents like, oh, he's got this. And I'm like, oh my God, how is your kid going to do Krav Maga in that schedule and have any time to be a kid? I mean, there's some real bad, and the stuff goes for adults as well.
Yeah, and on the navigation side, I used to ride my bike everywhere. I knew where I was at. I could get to the store and back without GPS. We did it all the time, right? You knew your neighborhood. You knew your city for the most part. But now, you see kids on bikes, and it's like a rarity.
Yeah.
Or it's an electric bike, so they don't even really have to pedal anymore.
Yeah.
And it just takes away all the, there's certain fundamental things about knowing where you're at and how to do things, how to critically think through a situation. Because when you're on your own, as a kid, you had to think about what's going on, right?
Yeah, or just how to figure out things in a game and playing and doing stuff and getting along and not having the parent hover and fixing it for them. Fix it. That was like the snowplow parent. Yeah. I'm talking like helicopter, and then there's like snowplow that they're going to remove all obstacles out of the way. And, I mean.
Did you ever watch that show Titus on TV? It was hilarious. It was anyway, Titus, the kid, is about to stick a fork in the electric socket, and the mom comes running over. Oh, honey, don't do that. You're going to get shocked. And Dad goes, hold on, wait a second. Go ahead, put it in there. Bzz, bet you're not going to do that again. Yeah. Like was learning. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I always, talk about touching the wood stove, and you're like, yep, that's hot.
It's going to be hot.
That's hot. Mom said don't touch it.
But if they never have those obstacles, and they never have those things to figure out, I'm not condoning people to go let their kid get shot, but I'm just saying they've got to work through stuff. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and, parenting is not freaking easy, and we all make mistakes. And I think the big thing with this guy's book is, you can't give these kids social media so early, and the effects on boys and girls, or where boys are going on social media. And it goes with adults as well, that you're spending way too much time on whatever site, and it's messing up your relationship. You're on your favorite porn site, and now you aren't paying attention to your wife. People are getting these weird dopamine hits, and you're going, this stuff is not healthy for society. And you got to self-regulate, as Todd would say.
Yeah.
And make right decisions, because you got it so much at the tip of your fingers, and people just get lost in it all instead of just sitting there.
Right.
And figuring your stuff out. Like, I'm bored. Get on my tablet. I'm bored. Scrolling the internet. I'm bored.
They made it so easy. It's just so easy. It just shows up to you. It knows what you want to see before you even see it, which is the kind of scary part about all that social media, right?
Yeah, it's just sucking you in. I don't know. That's where I go. I wish we would go to and have that solar flare, and then would be...
I really don't. I mean, I love flushing toilets and running water, man.
Crash the internet.
And lights that turn on with a switch. I like that stuff. I've lived without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll give you, this is Huberman's website. He's got some good clips. The Sean Ryan show is fantastic for that. So we will just listen to a quick
But you know what
bit.
what I'd really like to do with you now, as long as we're talking about sort of these developmental pathways, I'm hoping that we can talk about. Let's stay on sexual development, because this is something I just have a little section in the book. In the chapter on boys, I have a section where I review the research on pornography, and huge amounts of study of pornography over the years, but the hardcore pornography, high resolution video, boys watching it for many boys. Well, a large number of boys are go every day to pornography sites, often more than once a day. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how that would, how is that going to change sexual development during puberty? A boy who starts, let's say, at age 12, 13, and does it for 10 years. Could we expect that boy will be different when he's 22? His dating life will be different. Tell me what you think is happening there in the brain and socially and hormonally.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm not going to demonize pornography, nor am I going to celebrate it. All I'll say is that my understanding of the dopamine reinforcement system, and I like to call it a reinforcement system as opposed to a reward system, because people generally think that dopamine and dopamine hits relate to pleasure. But dopamine is more of a motivator. As a neuromodulator, it creates a kind of an agitation state that puts us in a state of focus and foraging to resolve some gap between how we feel and how we'd like to feel by seeking things like sex, like food when we're hungry, like warmth when we're cold, like cool when we're too warm. It's a universal currency of pursuit, of craving and wanting as opposed to having. Okay, dopamine does a lot more than that. And other neuromodulators are involved in wanting and craving, but dopamine is central to that. So I think it's not just fair to say, but it's a ground truth that whether or not it's a drug like methamphetamine, cocaine, crack cocaine in particular, or some other drug that hits the system fast and creates a big inflection in dopamine, that the more rapid the rise in dopamine, the bigger the crash in dopamine afterwards, and the more miserable you feel afterwards. And the more repeat of the behavior that initiated the peak will occur, aka addiction, or at least extreme habit formation, depending on how one defines those. When it comes to dopamine, the other key thing to know is that dopamine, in particular, high inflections in dopamine, big peaks in dopamine that occur without much effort, in particular the kinds of effort that evolved to bring about the dopamine release, such as courting, dating, learning your preferences, learning the other person's preferences, working out issues of discussion, consent, negotiation, etc. When dopamine arrives quickly without effort, such as with amphetamine, crack cocaine, or pornography, the whole reinforcement loop becomes wired to these short time scales. You want something, you want it now, and you get it. But
So, really interesting podcast. I mean, I think Huberman is great. I think he's got some really good things on there, and I think it's a good tandem. I think it's better than the Joe Rogan with Jonathan Haidt, even though that's a good one.
He really essentially just described what social media does for people. They get the immediate dopamine effect, and they keep chasing the high, and the crash is horrible.
And that goes for adults and adult males as well on this stuff. And, it's quite interesting stuff. His
millions of people now fall in those categories.
Yeah. So his plan, I'd highly recommend, getting the book, is no smartphones / your own iPad that's yours before high school, which I was telling my high school kids, it's going to be hard. There's things hard in this guy's book, and I was like, you guys should read this. This is your brain. And the thing's going to be hard, just like working out's hard, just like eating right's hard, and so many. There's obstacles all the time in life. No social media until 16. Phone-free schools, where you get the helicopter parents that freak out that they can't get a hold of their kid
instantly.
Nobody was getting a hold of us. We're here.
No.
it's again like some of this craziness. It's
If you
these
call,
parents. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never liked the tracking things.
If I called my dad at work, it'd be like, "What do you want?" That was back in the day, because you just never bothered mom and dad at work. Now it's instantaneous text.
Yeah, it's phone-free schools and independent play and teaching kids responsibility on their own is his 4-step, these action plans. So I was like encourage people read the book, and makes it one of his points is it's a whole lot easier if you at least have people in your social circle that you're all doing the same thing. But when you don't have a phone and everybody else has a phone, I'm left out.
Yeah, because of the peer pressure.
Like everybody,
Peer pressure.
I mean, we were just saying before the podcast, it's, Apple has got such a hold on things that you're not in the cool kid group if you don't have the right color bubble, that it's not coming up as an iPhone and it's coming up as an Android. Now you're
On the outside crew. It's so weird.
And I just what I say, I'm like, it's like the Bloods and the Crips.
Yeah.
I'm like, iPhone's just doing basic stuff
It's a faction.
to get people into the cult.
Yeah. And we're so worried about kids on drugs that we kind of ignore the phone addiction, right? We kind of ignore that social circle that they create through these phones.
Well, just the
wild.
effects on girls and social media, like the
Yeah.
whole thing. Boys, like I'm more concerned about boys and pornography and what they're seeing there. I mean, it's not reality.
Yeah.
And how that's rewiring their brain, especially what Huberman said there, and they go on, in that little clip. I think we still have a big chunk. I forget how long that clip was. They've got some timestamps that you can go through, and that might have been an 8-minute or so timestamp or more for that. So
there's no short answers on this stuff, man. I mean, you can write he can write whole books on some of this stuff, and it just shows you the depth at which it affects society. If there's that much that affects us, then why did we start allowing everybody to start having a phone? Why do we continue to give people these things? And our whole mass marketing culture tells us we should be doing this too. So we're getting market pressure, we're getting peer pressure in our groups. It just blows my mind how much pressure there is to consume and do. And look at the effect it's had on us all.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole everything we've talked about. Where's AI going and all this other stuff, and I'd like to get back to chop wood, carry water. I think we'd probably all be more
I was
happy.
with a bunch of college students, and I was the only one there that knew how to start a fire. Because I played with fire as a kid. I'm not telling people to play with fire, but you, as a kid, you experiment with stuff.
We had wood burning stoves. Obviously, I talked about
There's
that.
that
We had
too.
fireplaces, and it was like, I don't know, badge of honor. Like, start the
Yeah.
fire. Can you get
Yeah.
the start fire going?
Yeah.
And your dad letting you light the fire.
Yeah.
Now, like, don't play with matches.
Right.
Oh, you're gonna burn the house down.
We'd go camping, and it was my job to get the campfire ready, right? Go
Yeah.
and chop the wood, and that, it's just so much comfort, right? We've
Yeah.
talked about that before, too. It's just so easy not to want to leave my big, beautiful scorpion computer chair that rotates back and people get out of, right? That's the future we're looking at.
No, we're not.
Yeah. You gonna buy that computer chair?
I'm not buying you that computer chair.
I want that so bad. You should get it for me.
Yeah, that one's
That's
getting
nuts.
denied. That request. I've bought you a lot of things. That request got denied right away. Yeah. Josh texted me this thing a couple weeks ago. Can I get this? And I'm like,
For the office.
No, you cannot get this for the office, Josh.
No.
And I want you out of the office. I feel like if I had that in the office, you would have never left
I wouldn't
this
even go home.
crazy gaming chair.
I'd be like, why are you always at the gym? It's everything I need.
I'm always here. Oh no, I think too many guys we've talked about it, get caught up in games. So hey guys, another good way to help support the podcast is suckless.co. Suckless.co. Kind of get tired of supplements that sucked.
Yeah.
Looking for a job for my daughter to work her way through college that she can do remotely. She's doing a few things for the gym, but she's going to be managing the Suck Less social media and other things related to that. It is our brand. We've been searching hard for supplements that we could create, that we could stand behind. So check that out, suckless.co.
Tell your friends.
Our brand right there. It's not an affiliate like our Prestige Labs. They're really good stuff, really good things, but we are still paying them an affiliate thing. So we've been looking for a while for our own brand, somebody that could manufacture our own stuff and what we wanted. So we've got it, and kind of the soft launch so far. We haven't launched the social media campaign.
It's coming
fully, and yet another, which I hate, another platform, another. We're going to be doing We'll be doing some cross promotions and teaching my daughter about marketing. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, when you're not doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, she's like, I think we should do this. I'm like, yes, exactly. Have her, watching some marketing videos and going, yeah, we're going to have to cross promote it on RMSDF and ClearSky, and the podcast and try to get it out there. And yeah, starting something from the ground up is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard.
Everybody start a business will know, but
and on that site we've got Suck Less performance t-shirts, and some of the Suck Less gear will be on there as well on that website. So looking forward to that. So ALP, we kind of are relaunching a second thing. I had a couple things going on with staff scheduling and looking at some things and some classes, and we are going to be doing the new ALP program as a class, a much more affordable price, and it includes everything else that you're doing. So it's Peaceful Warrior Advanced, if you want to, for some of our members here at RMSDF. Like it's got everything you had in Peaceful Warrior, but now you're getting that class with John, and our second degrees, even some of our first degrees, need to be moving into that role of teaching some of these Peaceful Warrior classes. And again, you want to train with a guy with the most experience. Hey, that's another tier up, like everything else that's up there. And you can train with me in that program.
Yeah, totally worth it too.
Yeah, and occasionally, I'm gonna have to sub stuff because that's the way it is. But we're really trying to, and have been trying to move me off the floor, off of the regular membership. You want to train with the advanced person, that's the highest. That's the ALP. So advanced learning program. Josh came up with that. So
hey, I have my moments. I mean,
But it's Peaceful Warrior.
Yeah.
Another step up, because we take people from this beginner to intermediate-ish stage, and then at a certain point, that all-level class is great to go in and continue to train, and we all need that. But then, hey, there's Peaceful Warrior. They're like, let's bring you on a little bit further, and then you get to a certain point. Well, people are rotating into that class, and running a class of that level is tough. So that's what ALP is going to be. Is you're advanced, or like, as long as you're training. People have asked what belt level. Like, as long as you have the mindset, and you might get left a little bit behind and going, hey, you should be going to the other classes. This is a supplement to your other training, especially if you're a lower level, that you need to be getting in here and doing those classes. Hint, hint, as Bill tells you. Josh is our experiment on a lot of this.
Yeah, I've been
that you need to get into other classes. You can't just stay in, quote, the cool kid class. Well, I'm in the advanced class. It's not how it's structured. You need to be training in other classes and not just showing up like, oh yeah, I do Peaceful Warrior. Well, you still might need to be doing some of the other classes. And yeah, I understand scheduling and all that other stuff, but as we've talked about, you can make it work.
Yeah.
If you want something bad enough, you're going to structure it. Or, hey, I'm happy people, hey, I just want to get a little bit better. I'm going to come in here 2 days a week. And, whoa, you're way better than the average. I mean, so much better than the average person. But if you really want to step it up to black belt and have a deeper understanding. So we've got that. I don't know, do you have any...
I mean, being the guinea pig for it, I mean, you always tell me I'm just trying to catch up, and it ends up helping me get to one where I need to be to some degree, but also I see what I don't have, right? But it's helped. It's deepened my learning with you and Bill on that stuff. It's just made the journey that much richer as I'm going with it. So you've transformed me. I mean, we both knew I was awful when I came in. I was awful.
And you were clean cut.
And then I meet you, and it just all goes downhill with my hair and the beard. But my skill level has changed dramatically. I mean, I feel different. So it's totally worth it. I don't have to think too hard sometimes. Now, I had a class the other day where I was just doing things and not thinking about doing things. Yeah. And I think that's really where the ALP ended up being. Because I get that unconscious sort of competence is what I'm looking for in all the stuff that we go to.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing a instructor training class on Wednesday mornings as well. That's kind of part of ALP in there. How we're going to reevaluate instructor training. A little bit of that is stepping it up a little bit more that way, and people valuing that maybe more. Sometimes I feel like I've given a lot away just because I'm passionate about it, and you're going, I'm just giving this stuff away, and I'm 52 years old.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm like, gosh, some of the stuff, I'm like, I wish I was doing that 10, 15 years ago. But you get caught up too just in the passion of it and going, hey, it's still a business, and there's no retirement plan here.
Yeah, and you are always in the mindset that you're giving people the best in the moment that you can give them, and that's what.
That's what ALP. If you value training with the higher person, that's what it's about. Yeah. And like a lot of times, I feel like I'm just giving it away. In there, sometimes you were the only instructor, but even just in regular class, we've had things of, I can't afford it, and I'm like, gosh, I just really want this person to be good, and discounting something, and at a certain point, you're just going, I can't continue to discount everything. I look at market trends, and what people pay, even if you're going to be in the competitive team in an MMA school, you're paying to be on that team to get that higher level of training. And for the most part, people don't know that if they've only been in one school. And that's where we have a regular thing, we have our Peaceful Warrior, and now we've kind of added ALP to that step up of putting me on a higher tier. Not that, I love teaching beginners. Yeah. And that's where you're like, well, you're giving away a lot of value there where people aren't actually paying for that higher level coach. Yeah. But, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think you end up giving a lot away
totally
as the higher,
worth it. Yeah.
higher level coach. And at a certain point, you need it just because it's a freaking business, and you're going, what the heck am I been doing?
Because you've got all these wonderful skills you want to share with people, but you still got to earn a living in this world.
Yeah,
right?
I don't even know.
Support your local gym. Support this gym.
The last 12 years, I don't know, somewhere in my 40s, I was going, jeez. And even still, you get caught up, and it's hard to change, and people don't like change. But we've got some highly skilled black belt that they can step into this program, and they need it for their training to move up, because I'm always taking the higher level classes, and all of my other black belts need that they need to be doing that.
Yeah, they need
taking their stuff to another level. It's even we did it to the kids, like, okay, you got to teach. We've been doing bear hugs, upper belts. Okay, hey, you guys are kind of close in pairs. Explain bear hug to each other, and that's your job. You got a lower level belt. And I asked, what did you learn? Nothing. What did they tell you? Nothing. I'm like, they did. One kid, they told them something. I forgot what it was. You guys were supposed to tell them something or help them with something that you noticed that they were doing wrong in a bear hug. They didn't tell me anything. They just bear hugged me. They didn't tell me. They didn't tell me anything. So the kids are cute. But
they are fun. I actually do like teaching this class.
It's tough.
Yeah.
So not that I love teaching those beginner classes.
Sure.
But at some point, am I giving away too much? And people are like, oh, you're the owner. People have all sorts of thoughts as the consumer, and that's the tough side of it, of going, but you don't see that because when people move, like Brian Haidt, one of our guys, like, oh my gosh, John, I didn't know what I was getting. I didn't know what I was getting training with you. Like, the school's all right. Maybe you don't see that until you leave. And like I say all the time, there's way better than me. There's a saying, and there's a lot of crappy stuff out there. Even if you're just looking at our ClearSky.Training portal, get on there. We're trying to put stuff out there for our students and anybody that's listening and they want to train at home with a friend, that here's the takeaway. Now go do it with your buddy. That's what it's for. And we just mid-holding people, mess that stuff up. So I don't know. Maybe it's not worth it.
It's an incredible program, and it's transformed me. So
yeah, you've been our experiment in a smaller group things. I'm still going to be doing the privates. Yeah. If somebody really wants that one-on-one attention, we're probably going to change the privates to include everything. If you're in that private program and you want regular classes, I think we're going to move that. Maybe that'll entice a few things or make it a little bit more affordable.
So how do they sign up? How do they get?
How do they sign up?
Give you a phone call?
They know how to get in touch with me.
Okay.
If our students don't know how to get in touch with me...
Hey, listen, you still got to...
No, we don't, Josh. If you're not smart enough, like Josh, I freaking hate John. Here's my theory on this. If they don't know how to get in touch with me, that you're looking for band, they have my phone number. They have the member site. If they don't know how to find those things, they're not ready for ALP. If you don't know how to come into the class, like somebody saying, like, hey, I want in. I'm like, okay, text me.
Sorry, the producer
takes over
my head sometimes. Don't forget to tell
them
how to
get
it. Don't forget to tell them how to get it. Now wrap it up. Like all those things go through my head while we're doing this. And
I'm like, yeah, they're not smart enough.
Maybe they really do need the ALP class if they don't know how to get a hold of you.
You need other things. Like if you're on our social media and you can't figure out how to click on our profile, I think they're smart enough. I
love my mom and dad, but they fall in that group, but they're also in their 60s.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Once we get to a certain, they're like, I don't understand. You're like, oh my gosh, this person doesn't actually understand the internet. Right. And that's great. That's fine. Yeah. But it is a little bit necessary. I mean, my wife in HR, she's like some of the places that she used to consult for, that they would have to sit down and help the person with the computer. Yeah. And hey, it's online. You got to do what?
Yeah, they're still people out there.
They're still out there. They're not dead yet.
No, they're aging out though.
They're
aging out.
Wow. But there are like, I didn't understand, and you like click the button. You didn't understand to click the button.
Let's start with reading the screen.
But I think a lot of it is, running a gym is so much harder, than it used to be. When I started, you have to do so much more, and even you look at it like from talking people out of starting a gym, but no, do it because you empower lives and there's different things. But you're going, I'm not making any more money than I was 10 years ago, and I'm working freaking freaking harder to run this gym. Yeah, and I think that's all of us. I was talking to Scott over at Castle Rock Martial Arts the other day. It's like freaking. So like work, it's so much harder. And yeah, people are on our thing and then they're like, squirrel. and they forgot that they were interested in something that could have bettered their lives, some sort of martial arts or fitness program, and then they're like, oh, funny video. Oh, you gotta look at this funny video. Oh, let me send it to my friends.
It's that dopamine hit. They want that dopamine hit.
And they're
in that
off
moment.
of it. Yeah. And like we spend more time just getting in touch with people.
Yeah. Just
even
to
try to,
phone.
hey, we got this 10-day free pass. And hey, sign up now and we'll give you the promotion, because they don't understand we have to chase them and how much money that costs. Chasing the lead. Yeah. And people don't see that. Well, it's just the class. To run a gym, it's way more than just the class. Yeah. It's chasing people and everything else, not to cleaning the gym and air, and how much a woman said yesterday, the new marketing company, she's like, I'm getting texts and calls. I'm like, yeah, are you going to show up for your appointment? Because the moment you click that Facebook thing or Instagram thing, it cost me money, so we're trying to make sure you actually show up, because your action cost us money. Yeah. As the business, when you click on it, like I don't know, I'll look up stuff.
Nothing's
and go,
free.
Don't click on their ad. It's just another business owner to business owner. Like, scroll 3 things and then go, okay, there's the info I want, but people will click the ad. I mean, we have members that click our ads sometimes. I'm like, you're clicking on an ad.
Right. That cost me. You know what?
And they don't. They don't know it. They don't realize it's an ad. Yeah. So, I don't know. Right. What else we got on ALP? We probably...
It just really does accelerate the learning. It really, really has. It's condensed. I don't know. I've loved every moment of it. I know I've been the guinea pig, but I can tell you guys, it has radically transformed me. Physically and mentally.
That's something that we're doing. I was, if we had a full-time kid instructor, I would do a kid ALP for those parents that do want more, and that it can be hard. Like, hey, do you want a smaller class? Yeah. And there's only so much we can do in a class. Yeah. Like, we can come around, you can help people, but sometimes you have to remind people, this is a group class. You're going to get group lessons, and you can see tiers in the martial arts and fitness of what you're getting. I mean, our regular classes are considered small group, but they're at our large group pricing. When you're doing a large group, you're talking about 40 people, like price structuring for the industry. This is nothing I made up. This is like industry stuff. Our average class is a small group class at large group pricing, and people don't actually realize that. And then other people price gouge. It's like every other industry. You're going, good Lord, people, will you guys stop price gouging? It's hard enough to run this industry, and you got other martial arts schools price gouging. You're going, hey, that might not work out in the long run, or you're going to need a ton of people in your class at that price. So that brings down the service that you're getting, as we know.
You get what you pay for, and you get a lot when you pay for it here. You do. You get a ton.
So if I pay some other guy more for social media, I'll get more? Is that what you're telling me? All right, guys. Yeah. I had to find something. I had to find something to wrap this show up on. I don't know what the heck we're doing. I don't know. All right, guys. I appreciate it. You guys know all the socials. If you're interested in ALP, really check out that Anxious Generation. And the title is much longer than that. I think it's like something about how the Great Rewiring. I'm going to mess it up. I keep messing it up with the kids. But if you go Anxious Generation, Jonathan Haidt, Haidt, and he's got a great Andrew Huberman on the Huberman Lab podcast. All right, guys. Hey, buy a t-shirt, support the podcast, get on and train, and look at those videos and train more and suck less at ClearSky.Training. That's out there for everybody, but if you're a member, you guys should be on there. You can get our black belt membership, and we have instructor conversations on there. You want to get a deeper understanding, that is all available on the ClearSky.Training, and it's, a lot what you're going to get with me and the ALP, because there's so much like, I should have filmed that. I should have done that. So you're going to get that attention with me and focus more on potentially stuff that you want to do in there. All right, guys, you know what to do. Suckless.co. Check that out too.